Eglin here with Middle School Language Arts, and this video is on Engage New York Language Arts 7, Module 1, Unit 1, Lesson 2, and the book we are studying is called A Long Walk to Water by Linda Sue Park. And just take a look at this background here. What do you see? Do you think that has anything to do with the novel? Okay, and the long-term targets addressed in this lesson, the first one is I can determine the central ideas of a literary text. So I think of central ideas as being maybe the theme. Okay. I can effectively engage in discussion with diverse partners about seventh grade text, topics, text, and issues. So by diverse, you might not always have the same partner. Okay, so one day you might have your partner A, and the next day you may have B. Maybe if somebody's absent, you'll have a different partner. Regardless of that, you need to be able to discuss with anybody in the class. Okay, and let's move on to the lesson vocabulary. Words are analyze, develop, contrast, point of view, characters, determine, central ideas, text features, and these are in the novel. Droned, herding, aimless, bush, and rebels. Okay, and today's specific learning targets for the lesson are I can effectively participate in discussion with my classmates, and you may notice that this learning target is from yesterday. Okay, that tells us this is very important that we need to learn how to do this, and we will continue to practice this in class. Again, I can determine the central ideas of chapter 1 of A Long Walk to Water, and we will do this, and you can see this is in parentheses, through using our reader's notes document. Okay, and the next one is I can determine the meaning of visual representations on a map, and we will do this through completing the exit slip, okay, for the day to see if we have met that target or if we need more help with it. Okay, and the learning targets again are similar to those that we saw in lesson 1, and our communication skills are really important. So right now, think about what you learned about partner talk expectations from lesson 1. You should have written those down and discussed them with your partner. Okay, and those will be in the anchor charts in class. And again, just to reiterate or repeat, this is very important work, and everybody in the class must participate in our success. So we are going to spend some time, trying to practice helping each other and making sure that everybody understands the learning targets. Okay, and your reading notes, and I'm going to make this bigger, are going to act as evidence of how you progress with the learning target, the one about the central ideas, okay? So even if you started to fill in column 1, 2, and 3 during lesson 1, okay, which is on NYA, today we will focus on columns 4 and 5, and we will continue to work on this the next few lessons. Okay, and this is section B, getting started, preparing for difficult reading of A Long Walk to Water. So think about what character we met in lesson 1. And just in case you were absent or missed part of the class, you should know that was Naya. And we read the first section of the book. And that first section, let's see if I can show you. In that first section, in class, we should have discussed, put this here, that part, that Southern Sudan 2008, that is the section on Naya. Okay, and the novel will help us answer our questions about, the map we looked at in lesson 1, the environment of the country of Southern Sudan, and that dotted line that shows somebody's route. Where are they going? Okay, and in chapter 1, you should have tried to figure out just the gist of that first section. What was going on in it, what was, actually happening. Okay. A long walk to water could be considered difficult today. We're going to be digging in the text more deeply to figure it out and make meaning, understand the experiences of the characters, which may be very different from what we go through on a daily basis. So, the practice of reading a text and trying to figure it out can be challenging. But the second thing that could be difficult about this section is the subject matter is very troubling. Okay, so think what was happening in southern Sudan, in this time period. Okay, and the things close readers do anchor chart is right here, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And you can start adding to the chart today. But it says, please note that getting the gist of what the text about is only one thing that close readers do. Okay, and it says, get the gist of what the text was about. And this should have been done in lesson 1, but you can always add to it. And then when the text is emotionally difficult, what can you do if you find it really upsetting? And some of the ideas were talk to an adult, maybe take a break, things like that, talk to a friend, things like that you could do. Okay, and on the next slide, we have reading for the gist, chapter 1, A Long Walk to Water. And again, this is where you're going to take out your reading notes, which look like this. Okay, so these are your reading notes. And see if you can fill anything else in. Okay? I'm not going to do this on camera, but at this point, you should start reading this section silently and try to figure out the gist, okay? And then you can start adding in, sections 3 to 5. But one thing we really want to pay attention to here that we only briefly mentioned in lesson 1 is take a look at this. Let's see if I can highlight this for you. Right here, we have a location and what looks to be a date. Okay. And I don't know if you can see this, but right here we also have a date and a location, and they're both southern Sudan. And then we have 2008 and 1985. Okay, so we already know this is on Naya. Now let's find out what this section is about. Okay, so that's a text feature that you're going to want to notice that's going to give you more information, and little things like that can throw us off when we're reading if we don't pay attention to that. Okay, so I will read section 1 at this point and you will listen. I am also going to put a YouTube link to another person reading chapter 1 so you can listen to that or you can, as you do this. Okay, so then you want to go ahead and fill in columns 1 and 4, document your first ideas, what this section is about. Okay, so at this point, you're also going to add your new thinking, to the other columns. And then take a look at page 6. Okay? And it starts at the point where it says the war had started 2 years earlier. Okay? And that's, if you can see, I guess you can't, but it's like this section, the second section of the page. Okay, and then go to the top of 7. Now the war had come to where Salva lived. Okay, so again, this part is key background information. I'm going to read this. The war had started 2 years earlier. Salva did not understand much about it, but he knew that rebels from the southern part of Sudan, where he and his family lived, were fighting against the government, which was based in the north. Most of the people who lived in the north were Muslim, and the government wanted all of Sudan to become a Muslim country, a place where the beliefs of Islam were followed. But the people in the south were of different religions and did not want to be forced to practice Islam. They began fighting for independence from the north. The fighting was scattered all around southern Sudan, and now the war had come to where Salva lived. Okay, so now there's not just one gist in chapter one, there's, another section. So now we know that this second section is about Salva. Okay. So at this point, we're going to look at the learning targets, how was your discussion, and then do the FIST to 5. And this is how you self-assess how you met this learning target. And then did you determine the central idea of chapter 1? So at this point, you have read all of chapter 1. And like I said, if you need to, you can read the online link to the text, or you could also listen to it. So how did you determine the central idea? Go ahead and self-assess that. And then they want you at this point to go back to the scenarios in lesson 1. And these are the ones: you are 11 years old, you've been separated by your family by a war, and this ties into the visual representations of a map. So do you make any new connections with what we have learned? Okay. And just a little clue here. Think, one of these are Naya and one of these are Salva. Okay. So which one, fits with which? Okay. You can kind of figure that out on your own. Okay. But it kind of gives these new meaning as to what is going on. Okay, again, we're looking at the map. What do you now notice about that route? Okay, where is he starting? Where is he ending up? And then list in order the different environments that are on the route from the village of Lewin Arlik to Kakuma. Okay, and again, we're in this, in the country of Sudan, and then this is southern Sudan here. Okay, so looking at the map, go ahead and fill these in the best that you can. Okay, so here it says for homework, reread chapter 1 and add the reader's notes for column 5. Then read chapter 2. So this is all new. Okay. You're going to write your statements for chapter 2 of these columns, about the gist. What's the chapter mostly about? And then in the next class, we will work on column 5. So let me just go back and show you what to do. Okay. So just make sure you know how to fill this out. Okay, what they're talking about is this one. Okay, and so one thing I wanted to mention is, okay, so this is chapter 1, and maybe you have some different, page 1, page 3, whatever, page 6, okay, and then this is chapter 2, okay, so obviously you're always going to fill in column 1, 2 are your first ideas, okay, and column 4 are your first ideas, so this is always Naya, Salva, Naya, Salva, okay, so you might only have, one thing here, but in these columns, you can have more, okay, any new ideas. Okay, so it's just what you know so far. And if you need to go into the other box, that's fine. Okay, go ahead and fill in what you can. Okay, and these are just your first impressions to get the gist. Okay, so just do what you can. Okay, let's make sure we have finished this. Okay, it looks like we have it. I will post the audio, okay, if you want to listen, or there are also PDFs of the text for a long walk to water. What if you don't have the handouts? Okay, you could do it on another piece of paper and then fill it into your handout, or you could just download a new handout and do that. Okay, thanks for watching.